Okay, so when I talk about healing, I always speak about self accountability, right? I'm like, you gotta take self accountability, myself included. But sometimes when it comes to other people's egos, depending on how hurt they are and how much of like a wall they put up, when it comes to the mutual agreement for both people to be completely honest with each other, not always is the other party going to be um, responsive positively. And so, unfortunately, the accountability part, you could sit there and you could be like, okay, I want to talk to you and I want to be honest about my part in it. I want to say, sorry about this, or the way I acted about this, I take full responsibility for it. You could sit there and you could be honest with the other person and you could take yourself accountability. However, just note that not always is the other party going to respond the same. They're not you. They don't think the same as you. They have a mind of their own and they have free will. They may not be ready to get past that wall or get past that ego that they have. And that takes some work and that takes effort and that takes a lot of self discipline. So you have to be prepared to understand that even when you do approach somebody and take your accountability, you're doing it for you. Okay, ultimately, you are doing it for you because you need to speak your truth. And when you speak your truth, you're able to get the closure that you need in order to move forward. It's not so much a selfish thing like some other people may believe it to be, but when you take accountability and you sit down with somebody and you own up to your side of it, do not expect that the other person's going to do the same. They may even retaliate depending on how defensive they are and say something to trigger you. However, you have to know this in advance that even when you do sit there, that they may throw something back in your face. As long as you are honest with yourself and you're honest with that person and you say your piece, do not expect them to do the same. Don't even expect them to respond positively because they may not. Sometimes it's well received and then it becomes like a mutual understanding and the other party is willing to take their accountability and then a lot gets resolved and you can both move forward, both heal and continue on whatever paths you're on and even keep some sort of relationship going. However, that's not always the case. So if you have expectations that when you sit down and you're completely honest, let's say you pour your heart out and you just say everything you need to say, or you take accountability for your shit that you've done or the things that you wanted to say that you haven't, do not expect that the other party is going to do the same. Okay, because that's the problem that we have, and that's what I think deters a lot of people from doing it again, from being honest with another person again, is because sometimes the reaction's not always pleasant. Sometimes it's negative, and sometimes things get thrown at you out of the other person's insecurities or their wall that they've built up. And that's their means of defense, is to be maybe brutal in return or disrespectful in return or just make you feel even worse. However, you have to know that that's a possibility when you get into it. You have to understand that the other person may not be healed to the point where they're willing to take their own accountability. And you're allowed to set your boundaries down and walk away from it. If your boundaries are not being respected and they've been set outright, and they are not just a form of starting drama or anything like that, they're legit boundaries within respect to the other person and yourself, then you have a right to walk away or you have a right to set whatever you need to set in place. But once you speak your truth, please just note that there may be a possibility that when you do so, it's not going to be well received, or the other person's feelings might get hurt, or they may try to flip it on you in some way. If you're speaking genuinely and you truly mean it, and you really do want to get your closure and speak your piece, then just understand that the other person may not be ready to do so, okay? So don't get disappointed. And no, not everybody thinks like you. We all have minds of our own for the most part, and we all speak for ourselves, not for another person. And we all make decisions on our own, not for another person. And if there is disrespect there, then you do not have to put up with it just to keep the peace. You're allowed to set your boundaries. If the boundaries are being broken out of disrespect blatantly because of the other person's insecurities and they want to retaliate due to them feeling a certain way, a lot of people like to say butt hurt, like almost like a revenge seeking energy, or like getting even or equal or something. In their mind, they feel it's just and fair because you've made and triggered them into feeling a certain way, and so their response may not be so pleasant. Just know all sides of it. When you get into this, when you start doing your healing and you want to take accountability for your shit, remember there is a possibility that the answer you get in return, or the reply you get in return, you have to be prepared to understand. And do not add more fire, more fuel to the flame, excuse me, because it's just going to make it worse. Because if they say something, is just out of their feelings being hurt or whatever like that, and they're purposely trying to trigger you, you have to understand yourself and understand where they're coming from too. It's not an excuse, but you have to understand that they may say something out of their own emotions, okay? As long as you're taking your part and your action and you're saying what you need to say, that's all you're responsible for. That is all you're responsible for. How you act, what you say, the way you think, the way you carry yourself, your decisions are your own. So just keep that in mind. It's not always easy, and not everybody is ready to go on the same journey that you may be going on, or taking whatever steps necessary that you may be taking. Just remember, not everybody is you. Okay? And I myself am saying this to remind myself as well, because sometimes when I speak to people, even if it's out of truth, even if it's me being completely honest with them, there may be things triggered, and the other person may not even voice that. They may not even voice that what has been said has triggered them in some way, and instead they do the retaliating thing, and they do certain things to try to trigger you. Because the moment you lose your temper, the moment you act out, the moment you act out of impulse like they would, out of emotion, is the moment that they seek to gain control, because they feel a lack of their own control in their own life. So this is like a form of dominance. This is a form of almost like the when it comes to, we'll say like a pack or something, or just like a group of animals, when it comes to the dominating factor of alpha and stuff like that. It's like a challenge, I would say. And sometimes people don't realize they're doing it out of pure emotion because they're hurt. So they feel that if they can gain some sort of control over you with your reaction, that they have some control over their own life and the way things are going. Okay? And don't be offended by it, because you got to remember that as long as you're taking care of yourself, you're looking out for yourself, and you're being respectful to yourself, and you're also being honest with yourself and others, that there is nothing to worry about. What other people do is on them. How they act is on them, and that is something that they have to deal with in the long run. Okay? Try to keep your integrity, try to keep your dignity, and try to keep calm always, no matter what is said, no matter what circumstance is headed your way, especially if you're on your healing journey.